Hello my friends and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be the 25 books I want to read in 2025. This is I guess it's a reading challenge that I've done the past 3 years. I believe 2025 will be my 4th year in a row doing it. And I've only ever successfully completed it in 2023, I believe. So last year is the only time that I actually read all the books on my list. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to finish 2024's because 2024 has been a roller coaster of a ride, especially for reading for me, and there's no way I'm gonna complete it. So I love this challenge. I think it's so much fun. I like seeing everyone's lists. I like seeing what other people are trying to prioritize in the year. It is a little bit hard for me to make a list like this because what's interesting and what I think I'll read right now usually doesn't end up panning out during the year when we actually get there. So this could be another year where I don't complete it, but this is pretty much the only big reading challenge I do every year. The other one would be like my, numbered reading goal, like how many books I want to read. But this is pretty much the biggest one other than that. I don't make too many reading goals because it feels suffocating to have too many. I'm hoping that I made a good list and that it works out for me in 2025. I guess we'll see because we are really close to 2025. Oh my god, it is like right here and it freaks me out because I feel like I blinked and 2024 was over. This first book is one that I just recently bought, but I really think that it's something I'm very excited to read, and I definitely will prioritize reading it pretty soon, if not in the very beginning of the year, and that is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This is a science fiction dystopian novel, I believe. I have read from Octavia E. Butler before. I read Kindred and I really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to read another book from her. I've heard a lot about this one. I've heard it's very heavy. I've heard it's very intense. I think I'll have to make sure I'm in the right mental space for it when I do decide to pick it up, but I've heard so many people, so many people talk about how amazing this book is. I believe there is a sequel to it, or like a follow-up book, so I believe it's more of like a duology. So hopefully I really like this one and I can pick up the second book, but this is the first book on my list. Alright, the second book is kind of the complete opposite of the last book. It is science fiction / fantasy though, so kind of similar, but the second book is Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Older. This is part of the High Republic Star Wars series. This is the last book in phase 1 of the High Republic books, and I'm currently reading phase 1. I think I have 6 books including this one to complete phase 1 and then move on to phase 2. So me thinking ahead, I was like, if I put the last book from phase 1 on my list, when I finish phase 1, I'll of course complete a book. But my goal was to have finished phase 1 by the end of 2024. That's obviously not going to happen. So I thought I was gonna be smart and just put this one on my list because sometime in 2025 I will obviously finish phase 1 and move on to phase 2. So I don't actually know what this book is about because I'm not there yet in the series, so I'm not going to read the description or have any idea what this is about, but this is a YA Star Wars book, I believe. Keeping in line with fantasy, I'm trying to not have overwhelming horror in this list because I think I need a little bit of a break from horror right now. I do have horror on the list, but I'm trying to not have it be all horror books. So next up is another fantasy, and I think it's a romantasy actually. It's Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling, and I'm gonna be totally honest, I don't know much about this one. I actually bought it because I saw a video where someone was recommending books if you like Star Wars, and I've heard that the author makes the female main character and the male main character based off of Anakin and Padme from Star Wars, and that made me super excited. I love Anakin and I love Padme, so I was like, let me see about this. Let me look this book up and add it to my TBR. I think it also has dragons in it. Well, obviously, Erin, there's literally a dragon on the cover. Pay attention. But I've never read a book with dragons in it, so this will be a total first for me. I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone. I literally don't know anything about this book, except that the characters are based off of Anakin and Padme, and that really is all I needed to know, honestly. So hopefully it's good. You can let me know in the comments down below. Sticking with the fantasy theme, the next book is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now, this probably seems kind of wild and crazy, and you're all like, whoa, Erin, you're taking this fantasy thing a little too crazy. You're taking it too far. You're going insane. You're probably right. Do I think it's smart to add this to the list? I have no idea, but I just bought the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I love the movies. I think it'll be a very interesting experience for me as someone who doesn't read fantasy a lot to jump into the books and experience them. I have tried to read The Hobbit before, but I was much, much, much younger. I was like 12, which don't ask why I was 12 reading The Hobbit. I don't know. So is this insane for me? Probably. I was going to try to read the trilogy before the end of 2024. That didn't happen. So now I'm going to try to read it in 2025. So I'm putting the first book on there to hopefully entice me and push me to reading it. Next up is a very popular book. I actually believe it's a trilogy, and that's Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I recently bought this in my last book haul. I think I showed you all. And I have heard a lot of good things about this one. It's a YA dystopian. I decided I wanted to read more dystopian books after rereading The Hunger Games for the gazillionth time. And I've heard a lot of good things about this trilogy. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I believe it's about these two characters. It says they're chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants, and these teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequences of failure could mean losing their own. It sounds like it's going to be interesting. I've heard great things. I love a dystopian. I want to give it a try. This next one could be considered cheating. I actually don't know if I'm acting like there are rules to this. I have no idea. I'm putting a book that hasn't come out yet. It's coming out in 2025, but I know without a doubt I will pre-order it, buy it, have it, read it like immediately when it comes out, and that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the next book in the Hunger Games series. This is going to be about Haymitch's games, the 50th games, the second quarter quell. I'm so excited. Like, I think I've said it a million times on this channel. You probably all are like sick of me talking about the Hunger Games. I love the Hunger Games. It's my favorite series of all time. It's my favorite book of all time. Like, I love everything about the Hunger Games. I have been obsessed since the moment I read it when I was younger. So I literally just reread it. Like, I love the Hunger Games. So it only makes sense that I put this book on my 25 books for 2025. I actually had The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes on my 24 for 2024. I did read it this year. Like, it just makes sense, okay? I know it hasn't come out yet. I'm sorry. I had to, okay? Like, I know for a fact that I will be reading this the minute it comes out. So this is a graphic novel that I've had sitting on my shelves for probably a year. I think I bought it earlier this year, like in January, and that is Heartstopper Volume 1. I know everyone loves Heartstopper. I want to love Heartstopper. I want to know what everyone else is talking about. I want to watch the show. I want to read the series. I'm so late to it, okay? I know. So I'm putting it on my list. That way it pushes me to read it, okay? I don't know what's stopping me. This is about two boys who become friends and fall in love. It sounds adorable. It sounds so cute. It sounds like it's gonna make my heart burst with happiness, and I need that. So yeah, it has to go on my list. Next is a tiny little book. This is Wayward Sons by Hamlin Bird. This was actually sent to me by the author, and again, I don't know anything about this book. It doesn't even have a plot description on the back. So I'm gonna go into this one 100% blind, but I have heard really great things. And, you know, I do need to spice up the list with some horror here and there. I gotta sprinkle some horror in, so I thought this would be short and sweet and just perfect. I'm slowly noticing that I have a lot of series on this list. I did not mean to do that, but here we are. The next one is Mirror Lake by Juno Black. This is part of the Shady Hollow murder mystery series. This is the third book. I just read Cold Clay, which was the second one, and I just love this series. It is so much fun. It's Animal Crossing meets Zootopia meets murder mystery, and it is just so stinking cute. They are the coziest, easiest, laid back, but so fun, and I don't know, it just is like such a breath of fresh air to read something so easy and nice and light, and I just have such a good time. I love these little characters, I love the creatures, I love Shady Hollow as a town. Everything about this series is just so fun, and the mysteries are really good. The last one I did figure out before it was revealed, but the reading experience as a whole is just so adorable and so enjoyable that I don't really mind. So I figured this would get read pretty soon. Another very talked about book. This is a romance. Not just any romance though. No. It is a yeehaw romance, okay? This is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I've never read a yeehaw romance. I'm not really into like cowboys riding horses on a ranch. It's just, I don't know. That's not my like romance stuff. I don't know, okay? I'm not a yeehaw girl, okay? I'm not a country girl. I'm not into country music. I don't like being outside, ever. So I was just like, yeehaw romance, that's not for me. But these freaking covers are so gosh dang cute. Did I get suckered into buying it? Yes. Yes, I did. But everyone loves these books, okay? I think there's 3 of them. I think the 3rd one just came out. And everyone talks about them and everyone has so much fun with them that I'm jealous and I want in on the action, and I think it's time that I read a yeehaw romance, okay? It says it's a small town brother's best friend romance. I do love brother's best friend trope, so hopefully this is a good time. Now, after a series of more lighthearted books, I'm gonna show you a book that is not very lighthearted, and that is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This book is chunk city, okay? Look at how big this book is. It's chunky. You all know how I feel about a chunky book. I don't like them. I like short books. I think books shouldn't be over like 350 pages. I don't like to read long books. They irritate me, okay? I'm sorry. I love Tananarive Due, and The Good House is one of my favorite books of all time, so I know I have to read this, okay? I know it's a historical fiction horror, which does worry me because I don't really love historical fiction. Mixed with horror, I can tolerate it a little bit more, but I've heard it's heavy though. Like heavy stuff in here. So I'm a little worried. I think this is gonna have to be read when, again, I'm in a good mental headspace and I can take some really heavy topics, or else this is gonna put me into a year-long slump, which could be detrimental. We got another little horror book next, and that is Summer Fireworks and My Corpse by Otsuichi. This is 2 novellas and a short story, I believe, but I don't really know much about them. I really bought this because I read Goth by Otsuichi and fell head over heels in love. That is one of the most incredible short story collections I've ever read. I thought it was just so well done and exceeded all my expectations. It's literally in my top favorite books of all time. So when I could get my hands on something else by this author, I jumped at the opportunity, and this is what I chose. I'm excited to read more of his work, honestly, and just get to experience his writing all over again. So hopefully I enjoy this one. We got another little fun novel up next, and that is Mina and the Cult by Amy McCaw. I have read the other 2 Mina books, and I love this series. This is the last book in the series. I think I've been putting it off because I don't want the series to end. This is YA horror. It's got some romance. It has nostalgia. It's for horror movie lovers. It's just so wonderful and fun and enjoyable, and I have the best time when I read these books. So I don't want to finish the series. I've been putting it off. I want to read it. I do. I think it'll be a great time. But for selfish reasons, I don't want to finish the series. So you know that Amy's done a fantastic job when I'm putting off reading the next book because I just can't bear to finish it. So hopefully I can prepare myself and then read this in the new year. This next book, I think I'm probably making a slight mistake putting it on the list. Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. So I got this from Aardvark, and I don't know what possessed me to pick this from Aardvark because I have liked none of the books that I've read from this author. With book subscriptions, you get them at a lower price, so it's almost like I can justify getting a book I don't like because it's not as expensive. And I'm like, well, if I don't like it, I'm not out that much money. So I don't know, it's dumb, okay? I don't know why I did it. I want to read this one. I know a lot of people don't like it compared to some of her other books, which actually makes me a little bit more excited to read it because I don't like her more popular books. So what if I like this one because everyone else doesn't like it and it just works for me because it's different than her other books? Let me know if you think I'm making a huge mistake. I could be. I'm not sure. Who knows? Another series I'm apparently going to start in 2025 is the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I've heard great things. This is a murder mystery series. I don't even know how many books are out. I literally don't know. This could be a terrible idea to start another series, but look, I did what I did, okay? This is about 4 friends who are in a retirement village, and they meet weekly, and they call themselves the Thursday Murder Club because they talk about unsolved crimes. And then someone's found dead, and they decide that, like, they're gonna uncover the mystery. I've heard great things about this series. I've heard people absolutely love it. I love a good murder mystery, so I think this could be right up my alley. Then we have Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This is the next book I have to read in the Practical Magic series. I picked this because I love the Practical Magic series. I've had such a great time so far reading it. I've only read 2 books. This is the 3rd. So I just want to continue reading it, and for whatever reason, I haven't read it this year. I've just been in a weird space with reading, so I want really like cozy, feel good, and like almost like comfort reads for me in 2025, kind of just to heal what happened in 2024, and I really feel like this book will be a great one to have in the list because this series just, it makes me so happy, even though the last book I read was so emotional and so sad and so like devastating. So this book is about Maria Owens. We're going back to the beginning. We're going to learn about the curse on the Owens family, and I just am so excited. I think this is going to be such a good book. Next book I have is Moon of the Turning Leaves by Wab-Gi-Shig Rice. And this is the sequel to Moon of the Crusted Snow. I absolutely loved that book. I gave it, I think, 4.5 stars. It was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I really didn't think that book was going to be for me, but I literally loved it. And when I found out there was going to be a sequel, and as soon as it came out, I bought it because I loved it so much. So I'm very excited. I've had this for a good 6 months, I think, or longer. Actually, I might have gotten this for my birthday. Yikes, which was in March, so it's been over 6 months. But I'm just very excited to revisit this author's writing, and I don't know, I just want to know what's happening, like what's going on, like what's happening since Moon of the Crusted Snow. Like I just want to know. And it's actually a bit longer than Moon of the Crusted Snow, so not very long, but a little bit longer. So I'm just really excited to have this one. I think this next book is also going to be like really fun and just like easy to get into, and that is Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner. This is based on the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, which I have never heard. I don't know anything about the podcast or this book. I've just heard people talk about it. I've heard it compared to the X-Files. I think there's like ghosts and aliens and demons possibly, and conspiracies, and I don't know. I've heard it's just like similar to the X-Files, and that sounds really, really, really fun. I don't know. I think I'll enjoy it because I loved X-Files. I grew up on X-Files, so if it's anything like that, I think I'll have just the best time reading it, and it'll probably just fill me with like nostalgia, which I think could be perfect for next year. Oh look, another book that's a series. This is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which I have heard so many people rave about this series. I also don't know much about this one, but I've heard it's like a heartwarming, beautiful story about a coffee shop that sells coffee, but also can send you back into time. I don't know. It sounds bizarre, but it sounds also very fun and kind of cute. It's pretty short, so I think it'll be a fairly easy read to just like sit down on a day where it's rainy and I want to feel cozy. So I hope I really like this. I again don't know how many books are in the series, but you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it because I want to see if I actually like book 1 first. Then we have Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida Abike Imede, and this is a YA thriller. I loved this author's other book, Ace of Spades. It was a lot of fun. This sounds very interesting. I also got this earlier this year, or maybe sometime in the middle of the year. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember, honestly. This year has been a blur. But this is about the main character who is going to a boarding school. It's like their first time at this boarding school, and their first night there, their roommate disappears. I really like the setting of a boarding school. I think that'll be really fun, and I like thrillers. I like YA. I just haven't had good luck with it this year, so I'm hoping that if I just pick and choose what YA I want to read in 2025 and kind of be a little bit more choosy, then I'll have a better time. And since I've had good luck with this author in the past with Ace of Spades, I think this is a perfect contender. Oh my gosh, it's another series. Look, don't say anything. Don't say anything. This is Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, which I know is a super popular series. This is also a very, very, very quick read. This is so short. This is book 1 in the Wayward Children series. This is a YA book, I believe. And I know that Shannon McGuire is the same person as Mira Grant. Mira Grant wrote Into the Drowning Deep, which I absolutely hated. But I'm hoping that I'll like this one. I know everyone absolutely raves about this series. I also don't know too much about it. It's about a children's home, and I guess children disappear. That's pretty much all I really know. I want to go in blind and just kind of experience this series. I believe most of the books are this short. I think there's around 10 or so books. Don't quote me on that. I'm getting myself into a long series, or a longer series than I'm used to, if I do really enjoy this. So I guess we'll see. This next book is another fantasy, and that is House of Frank by Kay Sinclair. I think the cover is so freaking cute. I believe this is a witchy story. I think it deals with grief and just kind of like hope and love. I believe the main character's sister has recently passed. Her sister's last request is to put her ashes in this garden, and I think she's having a hard time dealing with her sister's passing. I think it's affecting her powers as a witch. She takes on a role as a caretaker of the gardens, I think because she can't let go of her sister, and she joins this like wild crew of characters that are living there, and I think they're going to help her overcome her sister's death and possibly get her powers back, something along those lines. But I've heard it's very like heartwarming and cozy and sweet and uplifting, and again, that's something I need in 2025, so I am hoping to get this read very soon. Just to spice things up, I'm throwing in another thriller. I feel like I haven't had too many thrillers on this list. I think I need a break from thrillers, but this is an author that I have a very love-hate relationship with, and that is Alice Feeney's Beautiful Ugly. I've read 3 books by Alice Feeney. One I didn't like, one I thought was pretty good, and the other, which was Daisy Darker, I absolutely loved, which I know a lot of people didn't like Daisy Darker, but I really enjoyed it. So I feel like Alice Feeney is very hit or miss for me, but this is very short, which I love a short thriller. That is one of my favorite types of thrillers, is a short thriller. This cover is very interesting. It's very textured and cool. I don't know. I was very drawn to it. I wanna read more Alice Feeney. For whatever reason, even though we have this tug of war relationship, I keep giving her chances, okay? But it sounds like our main character, who is an author, his name is Grady Green, and he calls his wife to tell her some exciting news, and she's driving home. But on the way home, she sees something in the road, so she stops and gets out of the car, even though he's like, no, don't do that, that's really dangerous. So he goes looking for her, and he finds her car by this cliff edge, and the headlights are on, the door's open, but she's gone. And I guess a year later, he's still overcome with grief, desperate to know what happened to her. So he travels to a tiny remote Scottish island to try to get his life back on track. And he sees a woman that looks just like his missing wife. I don't know, this sounds crazy. Sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. So I'm excited. I'm excited. It sounds like it could be one of my new favorites. I shouldn't say that, you know? I don't want to put too much pressure, but it does sound like something I would like. These are the last 2 books on my list of 25 books to read for 2025. Second to last is Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This is a recently released horror novel, and I also don't know much about this one. This one is a haunted house story with like a twist, I believe. I've heard a lot of people say it's not your average typical haunted house story. I don't know. It sounds like it's gonna be more on the commentary side than on like the true haunted house side. I think it still sounds like a lot of fun. It's not too terribly long, and this will be my first Rivers Solomon book. So, and to finish off this list, I have another cozy fantasy, and that is the Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. I bought this book primarily because the cover is so cute and cozy and fun to look at, and I've heard really good things about this book. The only book by Sarah Beth Durst I've read was a YA horror thriller kind of vibe, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So I'm not sure how I feel about a fantasy book, honestly, but you know I love a cozy fantasy, or I'm getting into cozy fantasy more and more lately. And this one just sounds like it's gonna be like the coziest little fun time. It has pretty lavender sprayed edges, which I think are beautiful, and also why I bought it. Look, cozy fantasy is a new thing for me. Fantasy in general is a very new thing for me, so it sounds like a warm hug. Books, libraries, romance, jam. What more could you ask for? Alright, those are the 25 books that I am going to try and read in 2025. Let me know if you think I can actually do it this year, if this will be the second time that I actually complete it. 4th time's the charm. I don't know. Yeah, let me know if you are doing this challenge. Let me know if you have any books that you are going to prioritize in 2025. I would love to hear what you're going to be reading and what you're excited to read. Let me know if you loved any of these books, you hated any of these books. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I also have a Patreon linked down in the description box. We can become friends, talk about books, horrifying books, thrilling books, romance books, manga, all that good fun stuff. And with that being said, I hope you are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!